Just 1 second, guys. Hopefully, this is just bizarre. It's not showing me that it's live for some stupid reason. And I'm not understanding that. Stupid reason. Oh, yeah. There we go. We're good. All right, guys. So, first of all, let me say hello to everybody. I'm back. I'm going to be putting together some content for you guys and exploring different stuff. But first, I wanted to go ahead and start with this video. Now, as the title reads, this is called The Biggest Conspiracy of the Past Decade, or of the last decade. I am dipping, pardon me. So let's talk about why I chose that. Now, before I get started and I explain to you what the idea of this conspiracy is and why I think it's legit, I want to explain to you why, just a few things, not really why, whatever. But first of all, I am not here to bash on anybody or any religion or anything like that, but I do want to talk about it because I think it is unjust, and I think that it's time for the people to wake up to what it is that this narrative that everybody's starting to believe in, and I'm not condoning anything that that is evidence that is irrefutable evidence of things that have happened. Meaning, I'm not just going to call everything a conspiracy that's related to this specific topic, but I will say that there is a reason why this stuff is happening. And I know that that's very vague. Okay. And the topic is this huge Muslim extremist, mainstream media, mainstream idea. And like I said, I'm not defending the religion and the extremists, but I will defend the religion to a degree because I believe that a lot of it is propaganda, and I believe that a lot of it was provoked, and it is that is the reason why the things are the way they are right now. So everything starts with 9/11. 9/11, you had Osama bin Laden was blamed, and Al Qaeda was blamed for the attacks on 9/11, even though you had almost every single person that was on this supposed, that did this act was from Saudi Arabia. And there are a lot of documents that have been released and that are still trickling out that are showing that there was a tie between Saudi Arabia and the whole 9/11 thing. So first of all, the U.S. government and the U.S. American population right after 9/11 had a huge hatred for anything Muslim. I remember right after everything happened, people that were Muslims were scared pretty much to death because they're like, people were taking out their anger on these people, even though these people had nothing to do with us. So first of all, there was a big giant attitude towards them. There was a lot of hatred. There was a lot of bigotry towards the entire religion just because of what was said through the government and through the propaganda that this was tied directly towards Muslims. And I don't believe that. The reason I don't believe that is because, for one, there's not enough evidence that points directly to these group of terrorists that supposedly did this whole thing. Second of all, the evidence is not there to support these idiots flying these planes into these structures with any kind of accuracy, because most of them sucked at flying. Let's just be honest. Third of all, the implosion of the buildings. Let's just, clarify that. The destruction of paperwork and of files and records that were trying to account for $3.2 trillion worth of money that was spent through black projects and stuff that was unaccounted for. The list just keeps going and going and going and going. So there's no sense of talking about that stuff anymore. What I'm saying is there's not enough evidence to blame one group or one religion on the entire thing. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's a very broad stroke to alienate an entire group just because of something that supposedly happened due to that group. So I think that's bullshit. Furthermore, you have to look at what the reasoning would be behind this. Now, right after 9/11, everybody and their brother was talking about the Iraqi and going into Iraq and the whole occupation of Iraq and the fall of Saddam Hussein, and the reasoning behind that being oil, and that the Bush administration and the Bushes wanted to get that oil. And I think that that is fucking retarded. And I'm going to explain to you why I think that's stupid. Okay. First of all, the oil is still retained over there. Now it's actually under the control, and a lot of that area is under the control of ISIS. So to sit here and say that, oh, well, they captured that oil and that's now the Bush's, private collection of oil fields, it's bull. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. Now, what would be the reasoning to start a fight with Iraq? Well, the reason for Iraq was because it was a population that they knew that there was a high population of extremist terrorism going on there. Now, not American extremist terrorism, meaning they're coming across the pond and coming over here and causing problems, but they knew that there was enough of a militia there that all you had to do is kick dirt in their face and wait for them to explode. They would go off the rails. So there's been a huge problem with the Americans and these other Middle Eastern countries because the fact that we would bomb them and kill innocent people, men, women, children that had nothing to do with anything. They're just living their life. And, oh, well, we missed our bomb. Our bomb went off course and killed these people. So then you have an uproar of people that are now pissed off because you're killing their innocent, family members, whatever. You're destroying their communities. And the government goes, well, we were going after this one guy, and there's no accountability as far as that goes. Now, that is enough to incite violence. That is enough to incite a hatred towards the U.S. Do I think that the pockets of these groups, of these terrorist groups, were actually formulated enough that they were going to do anything massive to the point where they were going to start training people and converting people to extremist ideas? No, because they were really pretty kept under order with Saddam Hussein and with Muammar Gaddafi in power. There was two big power holds that were being controlled, and the regimes, and even though they were dictators, they were controlling those powers. And this is all stuff that has been said before. There are people that don't agree with the Iraq war and who don't agree with the entire process of what's going on right now that are admitting that. They're saying, listen, this doesn't make any sense. We went in, we caused all kinds of issues by dropping, Saddam Hussein and also Muammar Gaddafi and killing them for no reason, pretty much. Now, I'm not saying these guys were perfect, but there was an imperfect balance to what they were doing. By them being in power, these crazy extremist Muslims were not going and doing as much stuff as they could have if there was no regime power in there and there was no controlling the power on both sides. So to a degree, they were an enemy, but at the same time, Muammar Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein were actually a kind of a yin yang thing. They were kind of balancing out the scales. Now, we've heard all about this through the debates and everything, that, it caused a vacuum when we pulled out and now ISIS took over. But I want everybody to think about this in a different direction, that this was all orchestrated, okay? That this was not just a cause and reaction, that this was pre-planned. If you were to get the oil's fantastic. It's going to provide you with all kinds of extra, money. And it's, it's something that's going to cause you to have more ability to do things. But think about it this way: the industrial military complex since 9/11 has quadrupled. It's quadrupled. I mean, there's more money going to defense contractors. Um, think about it this way: one one of the new F-22 Raptors, it's over $1 billion to make that plane. That's not a cheap plane to build. We're building them. So there's obviously a strive to get more powerful, even though the physical part of it and the size of the military has been cut down drastically, meaning human size. The military side, the technology, drones, stuff like that, we're moving into a different tier of fighting. Things now are done by stealth. They're done by drones. They're done by shooting rockets, a couple 100 miles and taking them out that way without having to physically put boots on the ground. So when somebody says, well, how can that be? Because, our military is smaller than it's ever been. Well, no, our military physical people wise, yes, but not as far as our equipment, not as far as our defensive contractors, the private industry coming in and playing a role in it. So they're pretty much what I'm saying is we went over there, we kicked dirt in their face. We did all of this stuff. It pissed them off to the point where they're like, okay, well, you kill one of us and then we're going to reform, regroup, and we're going to come back stronger. We're going to come back stronger. We're going to come back stronger. And this has been like a culling purpose, like a culling tactic to make sure that we're going to be able to sustain them as far as a enemy for the United States to constantly go to war with forever. The other thing too is now it's got so big, it's actually becoming an issue. It's really becoming an issue. The terrorist attacks that happened on foreign soil, on American soil, since 9/11 were really right after 9/11, nothing. Now that we had Obama in, and Obama was going to all these countries and apologizing and almost admitting that we were killing their innocent people by screwing up our bombing raids, in not hitting our targets and taking out the wrong village or whatever. It's almost like, okay, well, he's even admitting that they're doing it and that, they're killing our people for no reason. So that makes him even more mad. And then the moving away from our Israel ally during the Obama administration and letting things like Iran, all these different factions of things are happening, and it's building up to this big giant thing that started out as a little teeny little dinosaur. Now it's a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it's tearing the living crap out of everything. Well, I think that this was all, like I said, orchestrated. It doesn't make any sense that let's take, for example, any other religion. If we were going to try to pin this on any other religion, let's just take that for an example. Okay, so if I have the Christians, right? Christians have the Bible. Well, most of the Old Testament, it's pretty brutal. Okay, it's very brutal. But when you get in the New Testament, a lot of that stuff is, it absolves a lot of it. You get the 10 Commandments, you get stuff like that is saying that you shouldn't be killing people. It's murder and stuff like that. So there's a distinct difference between two parts of the Bible. And if somebody is really holding to one side where it's more, literal, you do X, Y, and Z, you get stoned, whatever, that stuff is really faded. And that faded a long time ago. Well, the problem with the Muslim faith is the Muslim faith already has the Quran, and then they have Sharia law, which is a medieval practice of law, of Muslim law. So it's the perfect thing to go after, really. The death of killing gays and stoning women and doing all this stuff. This is stuff that, in all honesty, it's still carried out today. So it's the perfect cover. It's the perfect group to go after and to claim all of this stuff over. And I know that sounds really bizarre and really weird, but you have to look at it as the government had tried to do a lot of different things to get into war and as our conception of a country goes, we've had the longest period of time that we've had in between wars is about 50 years. That's it. That's not very long. The U.S. was founded on bloodshed and continues to get involved in all kinds of problems, all kinds of, fights, wars, conflicts. And so that's how we move along. And by doing that, we actually, as individuals and as U.S. citizens, we actually lose our rights because now there's another enemy and another enemy on the front of civilization that's trying to wipe us out, and so I just find it to be, it falls apart. I mean, Osama bin Laden's dead, supposedly, which I think he died way before. And then there's even reports during the occupation of Iraq where SAS was there, and SAS members were dressing up like Al Qaeda and riding around in cars and shooting at people with AK-47s. They were captured by the Iraqi police. The Iraqi police then took them in and interrogated them and found out that they were operatives, that they were sent there to cause problems and cause a resistance in there and to get people fired up again. So when it starts dying down, they get them to fire up. Well, now they've got the machine clicking and moving. The ISIS Brotherhood, the Islamic Brotherhood, is shucking and jiving. They are going to town. And it is really hard now that they have this momentum to stop them, because now we were trying to create a problem. Now we have a problem. Now we're having to actually try to fix it, because now it's starting to affect us. It's one thing if they want to fight over there. It's another thing when they want to come on U.S. soil and bring the crap over here and try to kill us. See, now that's the government's going, okay, well, this is getting kind of out of hand. But this whole idea that you can blame the entire religion on it. And are there extremist groups? Yes. Is there extremism? Yes, most definitely. I'm not going to sit here and make any qualms about it. But as a whole, you have I think they said it was like 4 billion people, or some astronomical amount. It's the largest religion in the world. So for you to just kind of just encapsulate all those people and put them in there and then say it's 1%. Yeah, it's a high percentage. There's no doubt, because the number is huge. But I just can't see that it really is as bad as everyone thinks it is, because we incited a lot of violence. We caused a lot of problems. And during the apologetic side of, here you have Obama, who clearly states in books and prior speeches and stuff when he became a senator and before that, and his whole coming up to power, flat out stated that he was a Muslim. So they almost had an ally. They almost had somebody that they could go, okay, well, this guy is going to give them feed them enough fire to keep them going. Now, was it all his fault? No, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that you really have to step back and pull yourself out of this bull crap and look at it from a different angle. It makes perfect sense. The government, the industrial complex, the military industrial complex, is expanding huge. I mean, I sound like Trump. Huge. It's huge. It's just exponentially growing. We're doing more stealth stuff. There's stuff that's on the table right now with defense contractors that we don't even know about. So to say that we know what's going on as a whole is bullshit. We don't know how much of an extent the government is willing to let this thing grow so that we can continue to spend money and spend money and spend money, and also make money. The government is making a lot more money because now there's more different facets of the government that now can get funding. So, but that's pretty much it, guys. I know this is a very kind of all over the place topic, but I did want to put it out there. I didn't want it to be extremely long, but that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Please let me know in that comment section below what you think about it. Yay or nay. Good Lord, kids are being loud. So thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you checking out this video, and we'll see you in the next one.